Well, namaste and happy Mother's Day. Welcome to the Grants Pass Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Steve Van Meter, your senior minister, and it's my honor to welcome you here this morning, this Mother's Day. And as our vision mission statement says at the Grants Pass Center for Spiritual Living, we are an open, loving, spiritual community dedicated to evolving consciousness through teaching spiritual principles. And we are here at the center today. My plan is to have us live here at the center, and at some point swing the doors wide open to let people come back into our beautiful sanctuary when it's safe and when the numbers are right and all the things that we need to do. But I just wanted to thank you for being here this morning. I know that you have a lot of places that you could choose to be, but you found yourself here, and we're so excited. And our theme this month is Holy, Holy Uprising. And today's talk is revolutionary love. Isn't that what mother's love is? It's revolutionary in that, as my mom used to say, I don't always like what you do, but I will always love you. And I knew exactly what that meant, and so did she. We're very blessed to have this teaching. And as a leading spiritual organization, and no longer the best kept secret in metaphysics, religious science or science of mind is poised with this beautiful teaching and the tools to take humanity into a new paradigm, into a new consciousness, into our greatest yet to be. I mean, that's what I love about this teaching, is its practical tools. I call this adult education because it truly is, for adults spiritually. Now, we can mess with this as kids, and, when we want something, we can say, well, I'm going to use prayer. But when we live by this power and we know how it works, something incredibly different happens in our lives. We are also invited to demonstrate this teaching in our lives, in our centers, in our communities, and in our world. And to do so, we must rise up in consciousness. We don't just use this teaching when it's convenient or if we need to get out of a fix. When we live by the power of positive thinking, things shift in our lives. And this is what moms do, isn't it? Naturally. Mothers are constantly holding the space for their children and the love of their children, regardless of what they do. Unconditional love is powerfully committed to a holy, holy revolutionary act, which conveys grace, compassion, and boldness. The science of mind and spirit is that evolutionary teaching. For me, it's what has allowed me to prosper in my adult life. I didn't find this teaching until my 30s, but I've always been a positive thinker. My dad started me on this when I was in my teens. I came to him and asked him, what happens when you die? Because I was so concerned about losing my parents. And he said, I've just been waiting for you to ask me that. And he went in to explain some scenarios that brought peace and ease to my heart. He said, imagine that we're walking together and I just walked before you and I turned a corner. You know that I'm still walking in front of you. I just am not visible to your human eye. And I got that. He also said that if you put a pot of water on to boil and you leave it until after it boils, the water goes away. he said, "Where does it go?" And I said, I don't know. It's just gone. He said, "Oh, it changed form. It evaporated. If you look on the windowsills, you can see a little film of moisture. And that's what happened to it. It changed form." And I got that too. So my dad was well equipped for my 14-year-old brain's questions. But it is in that transformation that we can have a global transformation. But it starts individually with changing our thinking and changing our lives. Those who engage in this teaching at this deep level of awareness walk this talk. This isn't just something that we do on Sunday. It's balancing love and law. And moms, isn't that what you do? You know, sometimes we call it tough love because it's not always easy to tell your loved one, no, you can't have cheesecake at 11 o'clock at night. I don't know why. But after you have a cheesecake sit in your tummy at 11 o'clock at night and try to go to sleep, you know why. And that's what moms do for us. You know, they save us from ourselves. And they're not always there. But you know when you're about to do something that's questionable, you might hear that little mom voice saying, "Is that really what you want to do?" You know, this is from our Centers for Spiritual Living Global Heart Vision, and it says, "We see a world that works for everyone, where we are called to conscious social action." You know, we can't just look the other way when we see something that is out of alignment with our spiritual thinking. We have to step up and say, "I don't think that's right. Let's talk about it. Let's talk this through. Let's understand each other." Starting a dialogue is the place where healing starts. Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Faith without works is dead. We should not only pray, we should act, each contributing the best they have to our common purpose, each willing to make any sacrifice necessary, not a sacrifice reluctantly made, but as one who offers all they have for two great purposes. One, in a certain sense, is a selfish one, for we are all desiring self-preservation. But the other is a greater sense, that there can be no individual self-preservation without the preservation of us all. For if the whole nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power, an actual soul force, will penetrate this world, helping to bring confidence and calm judgment and right action until the crisis or the situation or the challenge, whatever it is, shall have passed. Freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of the right, and faith will always conquer fear. Again, that's by Ernest Holmes. So that's what the mom energy does for me. It's that energy that allows us to remember who we are in the midst of our despair. It is that love, that motherly love that comes forward. So a revolution is defined as a fundamental change in the way of thinking about or visualizing something, equals a change in paradigm. Revolutions in consciousness bring change not only to ourselves, but the systems and institutions that shape our experience of us all. Revolutionary love invites us to a new way of being, a new way of thinking, and a new way of feeling. Eventually, a new way of acting that is rooted in our love for one another. Just think what a different place this would be if we all had that motherly love for each other and honored it. Somebody take it so personally and understand where their heart is coming from. It is in this rising up of our consciousness that we rise into revolutionary love for ourselves, for each other, and for the wholeness of life itself. So let's just take a second and look deeper into the idea of revolutionary love. So the first word is revolutionary. You know, this philosophy that is rooted in change and in changing the way that we think and in changing our paradigms within our lives. We see powerful and life changes in our personal lives, revolutionary changes in love. And that is when these great changes in paradigms or quantum leaps in consciousness happen in a collective level. And I've called these CTEs, collective transformative experiences. And we're in the midst of that. We are at the end of some of that. Our collective consciousness is always changing. And how everything is constantly changing. We have to have complete circulation or we stagnate. And if our body stagnates, we usually make our transition because we're not built to stay in one place very long. We're built to move. Everything within us is moving constantly. Revolution and these leaps in our collective consciousness are rare and sacred times in which we are all changing rapidly together. I know that through this experience that we've all had in the last year and a half, nobody has gotten through unchanged. Something has changed. And I pray that we take the gifts in this change and apply them deep within our being in a way that allow us to love deeper. You know, having Treja and Dave here in the sanctuary touches my soul. And I actually got to hug Treja today. We just held each other for a moment because we've missed that sensation, haven't we? Haven't we all missed? Well, you know, there's huggers and then there's huggers. But that sensation of being close and understanding each other and breathing together establishes that continuity of oneness that there is no other way to explain it than by holding each other. So I pray that we hold each other in that revolutionary love. Secondly, love. You know, religious science, science of mind, is only a theory until we put it into practice, until we use prayer, until we step out into the world. But it starts with a thought that demonstrates our oneness, the fact that we are all one, that we are all interconnected, and that we are all internally dependent upon ourselves and each other. When we realize that we can demonstrate this deep love and can become the natural way of being for us, we relate to each other and the world in a different way, with love. Respond with love. Speak only love. And thirdly, lastly, we put the two together and we have revolutionary love, the mother love energy. That's where it comes from. You know, they call it the baby bear love or the mama bear love. That, you know, if you see a cub, you know that there's a mama bear close by, and you get yourself away from that cub as quickly as you can, because a mama bear's love will tear you into little pieces if it thinks that you're after their baby. And you moms know exactly what I'm talking about. And even some of you dads know what I'm talking about. We just protect what we love. That is the love that is bigger than any love of, like, loving ice cream or something like that. So revolutionary love then is when we bring the science of mind philosophy of co-creation and revolutionary leaps in consciousness together with the science of mind theology. This theology of oneness and interconnectedness and the natural love that comes from that oneness. Revolutionary love is bringing collective change through our love of one another. It is a bold love in that it asks us to act on behalf of ourselves and of those we love, and even those we have not even learned to love yet. And you know who I'm talking about. So in conclusion, happy Mother's Day. I want to send a special energetic to my mom, who made her transition several years ago. But when I think back about a memory of my mom, I remember her taking me to a job interview she was going on. And we were walking down the street, and I began to skip, just what kids do. And my mom loved it. And we were both skipping down the street holding hands. And it's just one of those precious memories of love of my mom. And I thought that's what all kids did with their moms. I didn't know that was like, maybe considered something different. But in my household, that was the norm. We loved each other. We told each other daily how much we loved each other. And we played together and we skipped down the street together. I'm so glad that I have that little memory of my mom. So in conclusion, this revolutionary love is the great work of our lives. And that same work brings us into that state of love, which is a direct experience of the divine. For motherly love and death are the same love. It is a one love. Every time we act through this evolutionary love, revolutionary love, every time we're moved to love ourselves enough to say, enough is enough. Every time we love another enough, fiercely protect them, to fight for their dignity, to come into a deep realization of their struggle, their challenge, their pain. Every time we allow this same love to bring us into that state of true wonder, curiosity, with those who we may have made challenges with, and maybe call them even our enemy. When we are in this state of love, we have no enemies. We are all one with that divine energy. So let's connect with that right here and right now, as I wish you a happy Mother's Day. And so it is. Amen. Well, it's time for us to follow our teaching and say a prayer. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or take a soft focus on something that takes you deeper, and let's remember who we are. So I invite you to bring to the forefront of your consciousness what you choose to believe that the power of love is for you. This power of love that loved each one of us so much that it gifted us with this thing called life. We are experiencing the love of life right here and right now. Each one of us alive and vibrant with the one energy, all deeply connected as that one, expressing as the billions of little energies that we find ourselves in as our bodies. So I invite you to bring to mind what you're walking through right now and introduce and activate that divine love within that situation. I may not know what you're walking through, but I know God does. And I know that that power that is waiting for us to access it, once we do, springs into action as a quantum leap in consciousness that brings us directly into the atmosphere of love. For when love is our goal, nothing else matters. So we just saturate ourselves in that motherly love right here and right now, knowing that something powerful and healing is happening right here and right now. We just give great thanks for this time, this space, and this place, for whatever challenges we have had, for that love being right there accessible that has helped walk us through those times when we thought we were alone. We are never alone. We are always all one. That is the truth. So let's give great thanks for this day, for this time, space, for the ability to use this teaching and be transformed by the renewing of our minds. We give great thanks as we release this word directly into that living, loving law, the law of the divine mother energy, which I call love, as we affirm this together by saying, and so it is. Amen. Well, it's time for our offertory. So if you'd like to put your hand on your heart, and this will give you that feeling of giving. Let's recite our offertory idea about sharing today, which says, I share my prosperity, creating a revolution of loving change for all. Again, I share my prosperity, creating a revolution of loving change for all. And so it is. Well, let's say a little prayer for our offertory this morning. I want to thank everybody that continues to give. Our center is right here. I'm in the midst of it. And the only thing that's missing is you. And you're right here with me. I can't wait until we can physically swing the doors wide and have you join us. But until then, we're here on Zoom. We're grateful for the offerings that have been electronically or checks or however you give. We give great thanks for the abundance that we all share together in this teaching, in this center, and in this community. And so it is.